Live. Good morning, everyone, and happy Father's Day. Happy fathers to all those men in our lives who provide that male energy, that divine male energy to uplift us. Happy Father's Day to all those mothers who take on that role and grandmothers who take on that role. Happy Father's Day to every man in our life who has shown us the positive side of the divine male, masculine. You are with Spirit Sessions today, and we want you to light this up and share it out. The person who shares it out the most today wins a reading with
Teresa.
Teresa.
Oh, really?
Yeah, wins a reading with Teresa. So please share it out. At the end of the show, we'll tell you who won a reading with Bex at the end of the show from last week's share out. Today we have one of our fellow Akashic Academy Network sisters, and she's come on to give us some help with this Sagittarius new moon and all the crap it's bringing up from the past, and we can maybe release it through energy tapping. And we just had a lovely session, didn't we, Teresa?
Yes,
Tell us
I
about
needed that.
what went on beforehand.
I will tell you this. First, I have one thought about Father's Day. There's this movie called Smoke Signals with Adam Beach in it. And at the very end of that movie, there's a song by Eulali, an Indian group, called Forgiving Our Fathers. And that song's kind of going on. Well, there's a poem about forgiving our fathers for loving our mothers, for divorcing our mothers, for this, for that. I mean, really, everything that makes us who we are, we chose in this life. We resonated with it, and we brought it in so that we can learn the lessons to be who we are now. That being said, man, I was so triggered yesterday. I was triggered by a couple of things. And, I try not to be triggered, but hey, I guess I'm human still. So I had triggers, and the issues that came up, okay, were family issues, money issues. I mean, come on. We all have these things. But what it did, fine, I was triggered, but it threw me right into unworthiness, right into I am nothing, I am nobody. Why am I breathing? I mean, this is what it came down to. So thank God the universe and everything, the synchronicities, we had Suzanne with us, and she does this amazing tapping show on Mondays past my bedtime. I think it's 8 o'clock on my time, Central Time.
And 9 p.m.
Which would
Eastern.
be 9 Eastern Time. Yeah. And so thank you. Tapping was one of the first things I did in the beginning. I've watched Dr. Wayne Dyer go through tapping. It's like, what would he need tapping for? He went through tapping. I've seen Louise Hay do tapping. These are people who I thought dealt with everything, but tapping takes us deeper and takes us farther. So thank you for bringing that to us. And for the collective, let's deal with the unworthiness issue today, Suzanne. So welcome to the show, and we are looking forward to what you're going to share with us.
Well, thank you so much, ladies, for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I've been with the Akashic Academy now since probably almost the new year or around that mark. And I've been just so well received by everybody at the Academy, from my fellow co-hosts and show owners, and also the community. It's been really wonderful to share what I'm so passionate about, which is a technique that I just kind of abbreviate to shorten to say energy tapping. And you may have heard of it as emotional freedom technique, or faster EFT, or be set free fast, or the tapping solution. I mean, there's lots of flavors of it out there. I just keep it simple with energy tapping. So I'm happy to share it with everybody today.
Oh my gosh, I love that. What is your history that brought you to where you've become such a fluent tapper?
Great question. So I grew up with a lot of early developmental trauma in a household where there was alcohol abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse. That was very, very, suppressed in my early developmental years. We didn't talk about it. And I grew up to have a very chronic anxiety issue. And by the time I graduated college, I was several hundred pounds of physical weight and taking a lot of anti-anxiety medication, and it just wasn't living for me. So I researched and uncovered lots of wonderful holistic alternative tools like hypnosis and neurolinguistic programming and energy medicine, and learned about tapping. And all of these things combined really helped me to be able to regulate my body's experience of stress and build some inner resiliency in my nervous system and my emotional container, get to know myself in a way that helped me develop connection and honor with myself, which was, a 15-year journey and continues to be a life journey for myself. And so it really was, I got into all this to help myself. And because I didn't have anybody to really practice it with, I created, kind of a small business doing it for myself alongside, being in a very intense corporate career that I had for many years. And just recently left that corporate job to be doing this more full time, to be able to evangelize this as the most powerful self-use acupressure technique tool that can help you literally, clear your limiting beliefs, reprogram your stress, revitalize your energy and reclaim your power. So I got into this for, healing myself. I was my first client and it just kind of grew from there.
I love that. Yeah, isn't that true? Our issues lead us to finding the answers, and then we get to share it with others. Before the show, you were sharing something really, really neat. It wasn't exactly tapping, but tell me about these and reversing all that, what you were telling us. That was amazing, too.
Sure. So I am trained in Eden's energy medicine. Donna Eden is one of the energy medicine pioneers going back a couple of decades. I was fortunate enough to meet her and train with her before it got wildly popular. I think now she's got a couple different schools, but our bodies are energy. If we haven't heard that yet, our bodies are energy. And we have these rivers of energy that flow in our body called meridians. And these meridians are all interconnected. They're all interconnected and they flow through the organs of the body. And when our energy is flowing properly, it flows in a figure-8 pattern. And we've got these different meridians that run through these organs, which then express a certain type of sensation that we experience, that we then label in our language what that means, happy to sad, whatever the range is. But that expression is unique to us. And the one meridian that really is very dominant for us in our very overwhelming, overstimulated world that we live in is something called the triple warmer meridian. And that meridian, that energy meridian, runs from your ring finger all the way up your arm and around the back of your ear toward your temple. And what it does is that when we are in a situation or an environment where we're not perceiving safety cues, our triple warmer energy meridian gets flared up and it starts to race that energy in that pattern, That also communicates to the nervous system, which then engages your body to tense up your muscles and get ready to fight or flight or shut down. But when we're going through maybe more of an emotional experience that doesn't have like a bear chasing us or someone, harming us, then it still seems real to the body. And so a way to really try to help the body calm down and to neutralize whatever those emotional habits are or thoughts are that we may be thinking, our old stories, or in your case, Teresa, earlier we were talking about lots of things going on in your life that are overwhelming, that are creating kind of are getting you to the root of some of your unworthiness and value challenges. What we can do is something what Donna Eden calls is a triple warmer smoothie. We want to kind of just smooth out that meridian. And so easily how to do that, and everyone's welcome to follow along, is you just take your third finger on the top of your nose and your second finger on the top of your eyebrows. So you're kind of in that way. And then really just press into your face and sweep your face. I know it kind of looks funky. And then take your two fingers and just tap your temples. And then tap your head behind your ears on both sides, all the way down your neck, all the way to your thymus. Put your hand on your thymus because that's a major energy center, and just take a nice breath there. And you'll want to do this about 2 or 3 times. We could try it one more time. So you just sweep your face, tap your temples with your 2 fingers, tap your head behind your ears, down all the way to your thymus, your major energy center. Take a nice breath there. And what that does is we are reversing the flow of that energy. As I mentioned, it flows from your ring finger up your arm to the back and around to your temple. And when you're in that state of, emotional patterns that are intense, your fight or flight system is engaged. So we want to just reverse it and calm and smooth it out. And so that just, it happens pretty fast, faster than I think people might realize. If you just do it 2 or 3 times and just breathe through it, you really will start to reverse that energy in your body and come back to the present moment.
It was like a
So
rush.
needed
You could
that.
feel it.
Yeah, you could feel it, huh, Bex?
Yeah.
It's amazing, and what a relief! You almost cry from relief. You know
Oh,
that these things are there. So thank you for learning that and showing it to us, because how else would we know?
So
So
that
yeah.
thank
smooths
you.
anger and frustration too, right?
Oh,
So as
Oh,
well, like
anytime you
if you're
have an
totally,
emotional, yeah, whatever you might be thinking about that's triggering an intense emotional reaction, your body is in a state of, I have to survive. I have to survive this emotion. I have to survive this situation. And so your triple warmer meridian is going to be flared up. And so even if it's not a rash, or maybe it's a crazy thought you're worried about that's not even happened yet, or an old thing that you haven't gotten over yet, your body is still in reaction in that survival mode. Your body can be very primitive when it needs to survive. And so, reversing the flow of this energy meridian will really help you calm down, no matter if it's anger, worry, frustration, hopeless, helpless, any type of emotional trauma. Your body is going through a state of survival, and you can say, it's really okay. It's really okay. It's really okay. You can just do that a couple of times, but I like to,
oh, that makes sense.
it's just really okay. It's really okay. Just, and it's interesting how when I speak with people, they say, oh, I often put my head on my forehead when I'm upset. Well, this is an
Oh,
emotional, this is the bladder meridian. It represents emotional trauma. So it's like, oh no. And then sometimes people just
oh.
do this, or they just, they do things very intuitively because the body knows how to heal itself. It's just,
I like to brush my hair when I get in distress. I tell everybody it's helping me think clearer, getting all the tingles. But there
yeah, for
must
sure.
be
But don't just brush your kids'
places.
hair.
No, brush your own hair. Another really easy one to do is if you take one hand on your forehead, doesn't matter, on the other hand on your head, and you
Oh
give
yeah.
it a little press. Just press in for maybe 30 seconds or a minute. What that's going to help you do, because your hands are electromagnetic, it's going to start to bring more blood back up to your brain. That way you can start having more clarity of thought. What happens when we're going into that state of stress and fight or flight, all of our blood leaves our major organs to go to the extremities to be able to handle the rush of, do I have to fight this off or run away from it, or what do I need to do? And so when we do something like this, we're actually bringing some blood back up to our brain. That way we can start to have more clear thought process and stuff. So those
Where
are
were
2
you when
energy
my kids were
medicine
young?
techniques. Yeah.
Great.
that's
Yeah, I love
awesome.
that. I love the miracle of being able to do this. I mean, so many times when we want to seek outside to help heal us, but right here within our own bodies is already made things. We just need to relearn and start practicing, because with a skill, unless you practice it, it's not going to do any good. So
Right.
thank you. I love
Our
that.
energy likes to flow in this figure 8 pattern. And when we're stressed out, the energy gets homolateral, meaning it's very straight. And we want the energy to be crossing. So a really simple way to get our energies crossing is if you just did a double karate chop, I'll call it. So it's like this chubby part of your hand against this chubby part of your hand. And just start, when you're like, oh, I can't find my keys, or where's my shoes, or I missed the turn, or what was I supposed to do today? It could be because you're overwhelmed and stressed. So this is a really simple way to get your energies crossing again and be like, oh, that's right. My name is Suzanne. Okay, yeah, now I remember that. I can build off that right now. So that's a really simple way to get
Got
your
it.
energies crossing.
I'm going to teach that
And
to
if
my
you have
mom.
more time, you could actually do a cross crawl across your whole body, your hand, opposite shoulder to your waist. And if you were even standing, you could do like a bigger motion of that, all to be able to help your energy get into that figure 8 flow. So the
These are
thing is
real life
that
hacks.
when life stresses us out, we believe those storylines. We're so invested in the storylines because there's so much momentum. We're like, but this is really happening to me. It's like, well, it's really happening to your body. So help your body. Help your body calm down. And when your body starts to calm down more, then you're like, oh, wait a minute, I can see this a little bit differently. So I call it the difference between being in kind of a tornado and when you're like reactive mode of like, oh, this, and now this, and now this, and now
Yeah.
this.
Yes.
And when you start to calm your body down, you can like step out of the tornado. You're like, oh God, that was a tornado. I was just in there. That was
So
intense, but now I feel a bit more
at what
calm.
part do we do this? Do we stop immediately when we do this, or do we wait until, like when we start noticing these thoughts happening, do we take it in at that moment, or do we wait till we're out of the situation and then recuperate using it? Do you
What
know
a
what I mean?
great
Is this like
question. You can do both, but I would highly recommend if you're in an environment where you can do it in the moment, do it in the moment because you are the closest to the pattern and the program that is supporting this reaction. You know, you think that every time that you react that it's a new reaction, but it's not. It's just a habit of reaction that are rooted in emotional patterns and belief systems. It's like every time something happens in a certain way, you go, oh, that's how it always makes me feel that way. Okay, well, that's pattern. So when you're in the pattern, tapping will help you disrupt that pattern and say, hey, keep that energy moving. Don't get stuck there. Keep that energy flowing. Don't get stuck there. And then so if you can in the moment, great. If not, if it's not appropriate because you don't want people to see you tapping or you're whatever, you can't do it in the moment because your hands are free or free, whatever. You can do it later on in the day. You know, when I work with people one-on-one, we're often simulating what happened yesterday, what happened 5 years ago, and we're trying to go into those emotional patterns and habits and beliefs that have kept us stuck. But when you can do it in the moment, you are right there at that edge of that pattern and you're closest than you'll ever be. And that's exactly where you want to be to start to break it up. You break up those neural pathways. You'll be able to break up the cellular communities that have stuck to you and created that reaction. You'll help your energy body be able to process it through all the meaning that you've given it with all the storylines, and also help your own energy system be able to regulate into a pace that personally works for you. You know, we're often like a swinging crazy wild pendulum, or we're like, oh, we're just too dull. Like, we really want to be at a more even pace with things. Like, oh, no, I'm crazy. Oh, no. We want to, like, and everyone's pace is different. Miles an hour. Doesn't really matter. No judgment here. You just find the pace that works for you and know when you're out of pace with yourself. And there are things that can trigger you to do that, to be out of pace. That's why I love tapping. In the moment.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's better to tap than to freak out too in front of people. So, you know,
I know,
I
yeah.
think if you start doing this,
behavior.
I'm
Freaking out
tapping
is
now. You
normal.
watch out.
You know, people accept freaking out because they're like, oh, you're stressed. That's life. People don't accept you trying to heal yourself in the moment because that looks weird, you know? So let's break that mold.
Hey,
and
let's
just
do
live
it.
life.
Yeah.
Let's
Let's
do
do
it.
it. So that brings me to the next question that Bex hit on when we were talking to you before. Is when it comes down to it, how do we know the right words to use when we're going through the different tapping points? Like I had the issues. Okay, one, I was triggered. That was enough to tap. But then I felt bad that I was triggered, and then I jumped right into worthlessness. I mean, it's like, oh my God, there's so much to tap on. Now I'm stressing out about what to say. I mean, so
Great question.
This
is such a common question about what do I say when I'm tapping? Well, first of all, you need to know your body is energy. Remember we talked about that a little earlier. And guess what? The universe doesn't speak English. It doesn't speak French, doesn't speak Spanish, doesn't speak German. It speaks vibration. And so don't worry about what to say. Everyone's like, oh, I need a tapping script. I need to know exactly what to say when I have this problem. Somehow they're comforted by having words to say. I can certainly give you words to say, but the best words you ever can come up with is your own story. When I work one-on-one with people and they're telling me what's going on with them, I take all these feverish notes. They said this, and I'm writing it all down. And then we start to tap, and I'm just saying what they told me. And they say, oh God, how did you know what to say? How did you know? I'm like, well, because you told me. You said it in your own words. So I'll answer your question two ways. One is, don't worry about what to say. Worry about how you're experiencing the trigger. Oh, this trigger. Oh, I don't like it. Oh, it feels like this. It looks like this. It sounds like this. Oh, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it until you start to calm down. Or you could say, word, story, whatever that dialogue is that's
How
racing
about,
in your mind.
can we
Yeah.
just sometimes, okay.
Yes. Just tap on the experience of the trigger. Don't worry about the words, because your whole thing is to neutralize your body's experience of that trigger. And it doesn't speak English, it speaks vibration. And so we're just calming the vibration of the body. So get over it. But if you really wanted to get specific, because the best results in tapping are to get specific in your story. It's my brother. He said this. I never forgot what he looked like when he said it. He had that tone of voice and he was so mean to me. It hurt my feelings. And I could hear it over and over and over again. I've never let it go. I can still hear it. I torture myself, but I hear it all the time. You know, if you get to that specific, then you could be moving that specific energy through. But it's, again, your story and your words. So, I mean, I have a lot of, I belong to a lot of different tapping groups on Facebook, and everyone says, can I get a tapping script for this problem, that problem? And I'm like, tell me about your problem. Tell me about it. How do you describe it? And then I say, okay, here's the script. Whatever you just wrote, tap on that. Tap on that. Tap on that.
And tapping works on, somebody was talking about their stress from their arthritis. So tapping works on the stress that is caused by pain. It also works on the pain itself, right?
Absolutely. Tapping can help emotional, mental, and physical stresses to be able to process and resolve in the physical body and in the energy body. We're an energy body first, but we also are here in the 3D, we're here in the 3D in this thing. And we zip up our human suit every day, and we have to appreciate that it's got its own physiology. And so tapping can help us to process and resolve the emotions, the mental, and the physical experiences of stress. And those things come to us as acute stresses, things that are like, where's my keys? I can't find it. Oh, or I'm going to work every day and my boss hates me, or I don't like this job, and this is more of a chronic stress, or I'm in a relationship where there's conflict, or I don't have enough money to pay my bills every month. Chronic types of stresses, or maybe even traumatic types of stresses where you've lost someone, an important relationship, or death of a loved one, or some type of major, trauma has happened. So all these types of stresses, whether they show up in your life as mental stresses, emotional stresses, or physical stresses, you go to the symptom. Say if it's a physical stress, meaning I have this disease or I have this pain in my body, in your awareness of it, you're connected to it. You think it's keeping that story alive of what happened. And there might be some momentum of that story that still exists that needs to process through the body. You just say to the body, thank you for giving me this message. I needed to get it at this level because I maybe was resisting some of the symptoms and signals of the messages that you were maybe sharing with me before. But now I'm really aware of it, and I'm willing to help the body process and recover. So no matter what it, might be a sharp pain, or maybe it's stomach ache or broken finger, whatever it might be, however you're experiencing those symptoms, you go to the symptoms. I'm in so much pain, so much pain, so much pain, so much pain. But sure, certainly, yeah, you can tap on anything. Because tapping is an energy tool.
So can we tap on your
Yes, let's tap.
the unworthiness one that you sort of did?
Sure.
Let's do that, but
the collective is feeling.
First, let's tap on that, but I want you to explain to everybody about this full moon and how this is helping us to how it's bringing up these issues, and then we'll tap on it.
So thanks for asking that, Teresa. So we've been in an energy pattern for the last few years of really starting to see clearly some of the conditional things that we have connected to outside of ourselves that have given us worth and value. And those things have been dismantling in front of us, whether they are groups that we belong to, or organizations, or cultures, or religions, or governments, whatever they might be. We're starting to see with very clear eyes what they're about, and that we're no longer able to get that same worth about ourselves from those things. And so we're kind of shifting from connecting to our value outside of ourselves to one that's inside of ourselves. And the energy of this year really is a changing of the guard. And it really is switching from that external way of finding value and worth to an internal way of finding value and worth. And this full moon in Sagittarius that's coming up in the next couple of days, and I'm no a master astrologer, so don't come to me for that, but I have wonderful people I follow. So I'm just a puppet here with this, but this full moon in Sagittarius really is to be able to help us shed ourselves of old emotional habits and patterns that have kept us from really claiming our what I call immense value. Because if you peel back the layers of everything that keep you either thinking from the past or in the future, and you just get to the present moment, you know that you are just this immensely valuable energy source. And then we just zip up into this suit of the 3D, and then all of a sudden we get all of the generational patterns and programs and things that we have had. So this full moon is a great opportunity for us to really shed some deep, deep, deep confusion about where we get our worthiness from, so that we can come into our own personal value. So I teach tapping in 4 easy steps, so we can go through this right now in context of worthiness. So step number 1 is notice what bothers you and how it bothers you. And I would invite everyone right now to think about maybe some storylines in their life that they might have going on where they're feeling unworthiness. They're not feeling good enough. And it might be a little uncomfortable to do that right now, but that's what tapping helps us do, is move through some not so good stuff. So step number 1 is to notice what bothers you and how it bothers you. So think of maybe a storyline that you might have going on where you don't feel good enough, or you're, feeling some unworthiness. Maybe it's an old story. Maybe it's been around your whole life. Maybe it just happened this morning. I don't know. Whatever it is. Step number 2 is to give it an intensity number on a scale of 0 to 10. If 0 is doesn't really bother me, 10 is it really bothers me, what number would you give it? And try and find something that's higher than a 6. And then step number 3 of tapping is to focus on the part that stands out the most. Maybe it's like, oh, it's what my mother said, it's what my boss said, oh, I looked at my bank account, I don't have enough money, like it just doesn't, that number's not changing, or I have this conflict with my partner. Whatever it is that you have as that storyline, go to the part that really stands out the most, that really gets you. Because you have to press on the emotional pain, the mental pain, the physical pain, just a little bit. And then step number 4 is we're going to tap. So hopefully by now you all have something, a story going on in your mind. You've got a number in your mind of how intense you're experiencing it. You can go to that part that stands out the most, the part that you're just like, oh, that's the uncomfortable part. I don't want to look at or hear. See, don't make me go there. Just go there. We're going to go there. That's getting to the root of it. And while you're there, again, step number 4, you're going to take your 2 fingers and start tapping between your eyes. If you grew your eyebrows together, that's the first point. Just start tapping between your eyes there and say, my unworthiness program. I'm so unworthy.
I'm so unworthy.
And I believe it.
And I believe it.
I don't know how to know my own value.
I don't know how to know my own value.
In context of this story.
In context of this story.
Tap on the side of the eye, right by your temples. This story.
This story.
That triggers my unworthiness.
It triggers my unworthiness.
That makes me feel not good enough.
It makes me feel not good enough.
All the people that are involved.
All the people that are involved.
What they said.
What they said.
What they did.
What they did.
What they didn't say.
What they didn't say.
What they didn't do.
What they didn't do.
Tap under your eye. The emotional habit of unworthiness.
The emotional habit of unworthiness.
All the storylines from my past.
All the storylines from my past.
That got me to this point.
Got me to this point.
Of connecting with this experience.
Of connecting with this experience.
Of unworthiness.
Of unworthiness.
I just let it go.
I just let it go.
Tap on your collarbone. When I can leave the past behind.
When I can leave the past behind.
And be in the present moment.
And be in the present moment.
I can recognize my value.
I can recognize my value.
But there's a lot of focus I have from the past.
There's a lot of focus I have from the past.
But I'm willing to let it go today.
but I'm willing to let it go today.
Take one hand and squeeze the opposite wrist a couple of times and take a nice easy breath. And then blow it out and say the word clear.
There.
And then I invite you to think about something in your life where you feel that you did well. That for me, I love making scrambled eggs. I'm really good at it. I'm really, really good. If you want to have scrambled eggs, you should come to my house because I'm really good at making them. So I want you to all find something that you're really, really, really good at. What is it you're really good at, And when you're there, make that a 10 on a scale of 0 to 10. And just tap between your eyes and repeat out loud and say, I am so resourceful.
I am so resourceful.
I have everything I need.
I have everything.
I have everything I need.
Tap on the side of the eye. I am good enough.
I am good enough.
I'm so good at doing this thing that I'm good at doing.
I'm so good at doing this thing I'm doing.
I'm an expert at it.
I'm an expert at it.
I'm good enough at it.
I'm good enough at it.
I'm willing to build my worth from this point forward.
I'm willing to build my worth from this point forward.
On your collarbones, clearing anything in the way.
Clearing anything in the way.
Of my value.
My value.
My personal value.
My personal value.
And then grab your wrist and squeeze it. Take a nice breath. Blow it out. Say the word peace.
Peace.
Good job. Then I invite you to go back to that thing that you were thinking about before, the thing that was triggering you to feel not good enough, unworthy, and identify what's the number that you might be experiencing it now as intensity. Did the number shift? Is it different? Maybe something stood out.
Yes.
When you're tapping, you might feel a little bit of a tingly sensation. You might just feel an overall sense of peace and calm. You might take a spontaneous breath or yawn, and those are all great signals. Yeah, release however you need to release to process through, for sure. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So hopefully everyone's following on. Their number went down a little bit. Yeah. What, love?
I said it even releases pain in your body because I know there's a place where I've stored it.
They say that people walk around with like broken bones all the time, but they don't feel it because they don't have an emotional attachment to it. So when we have pain, it's because we have literally said, there was an experience we had in our life. We didn't know what to do with it. Oh, I'm going to stick it on my shoulder. I'm going to stick it on my knee. I'm going to stick it on my hip. I'm going to stick it on my back. And then we've never let the body process it through. And then there's other things that happen to us, then we don't have such connection or attachment to it. And we just let it go. And then the body might still have that experience, but we don't have the attachment to have that feeling about it.
So true.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel so relieved, though. Thank you, Suzanne.
Somebody says, Ines says she went from an 8 to 3. Cindy went from an 8 to a 1. So great. Anybody else have any comments? I'm sorry, I'm looking around on my other screen behind my screen.
And that was just in a few minutes, and we did just some general tapping on something. So really,
and we can go back and do this again and again.
Yeah, get a tapping journal and start going through everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a real big advocate of staying in the present as best as possible in terms of storylines that are going on in your life. When people say, well, do I have to go back and think about everything bad that's ever happened to me? Nope. You just need to use whatever your current storyline is because it's a grown-up version of whatever happened back then when you planted the seed of whatever it is that your stress and struggle is. Now you've got a tree with some limbs on it. Well, we got to get to the root of it still. But we don't need to go back to, this horrible thing happened to me in the 3rd grade. Don't worry about it. You're experiencing that an adult version of this tree having grown up. We just need to cut it down, trim it back.
Beautiful.
That's good.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I know my girlfriend and I know about tapping, so sometimes when this is our signal.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, that's a
Your tapping buddy.
I need chocolate. Yeah, no. No, I don't.
Cravings are a big one for sure. I mean, they're so, we're human and we've evolved to needing community and connection with other humans. And when we don't get that connection need met in a way that personally works for us, we look for things outside of ourselves, like chocolate, like alcohol, like other people. And we have kind of these other codependencies with these things outside of ourselves. until we can learn to process and resolve those internal gaps, I'll call them. And sadly, a lot of people have that because we weren't raised with that level of attunement and attention that we all required to be able to become self-regulated people. And so we have a lot of coping strategies that are out there. So yeah, chocolate's a favorite one, and alcohol could be another one, drugs, people use lots of different ways to cope. And there's no judgment here. It's just, it's not, why the addiction is, why the lack of connection,
Right.
And so starting to look at how to start to self-regulate and connect with yourself. And tapping was the way that helped me, shed hundreds of pounds, get off all my anti-anxiety medication, and be able to live more present safely because I trust myself. People look out and they grab things outside of themselves, but it really is, the work is to do it inside first. And it's like, well, come on, I just want something outside of myself. Never going to be consistent that way. It might work for a few hours, few days, few years, but then where's the chocolate? Where's the this? Where's the that? Yeah.
Comes back.
Wow.
Cindy Aldrich says, yippee, almost as good as when I go to my barn. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is cheaper at least. Yeah. I love that.
Great. When I tell
That's
people it's
beautiful.
free and you can do it on your own, they're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I don't need to buy like a pill or a potion or a drink or a thing.
Oh.
How about a device or a machine or something? I'm like, nope. You can totally do it on your own. And that's why I love, on my show, Let's Tap on Monday nights, is that's what I'm teaching people, is to take this as their own self-use healing modality. Certainly, if you want to work with one-on-one with somebody, come on my way. Happy to be a present, compassionate person in your experience of process. And some people need that. But if not, then take this and run with it. And if you think tapping's crazy, that's cool. Find something else that works, but find something else because you need something else. You can't just go into this life like loosey-goosey, like, okay, I'll just take whatever life gets. No, you need tools and skills to arm yourself. You need things to help you. So
It's a part of self-love.
Yeah, beautiful, Teresa. Yeah, it's part of self-love. And when
I was going to say, the great thing about the Akashic Academy is you can go back into the videos and go back into Suzanne's playlist and go right from the beginning and go right through the end. If her show's too late for some of you guys, you can go and do the replays because you can go back as many times as you like, just the same as you can with ours. Go into the videos section and look at the playlists, and you can go back right to the beginning on any of our shows. So it's awesome.
It's a great way to start your week. It's a great way to get ready and
that's
release
right.
the week, the energy from the week before, and just go into it fresh and clear and ready to go.
Ooh.
I love the time slot that you have because it's just such a perfect time. Especially Mondays can be a little rough sometimes. So you're like, all right, Monday, I'm all done with you. Let's do this over.
I do that very intentionally because usually everyone's happy. By Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's like I'm going into the weekend, so people are distracted by, I'm going to go numb out this way. I'm going to try to forget. And then Monday is like, oh, yeah, that's Monday.
Yep.
Yeah, here again. Okay, how do I deal with this again? So I'm like, okay. Well,
Right before you go to bed to clear that stuff, then you don't then you can sleep and you don't have to.
Yeah, that's right, Rhonda. Yeah.
Well, very beautiful stuff. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. That was, I was able to, because Father's Day has been a trigger for me, my whole life. I grew up with an absent father. So I developed this mindset when I was a child of if my father couldn't love me, who was going to, which then led to very unhealthy relationships with men, And so I've been really working on clearing that and working through that, processing, shifting my perspective. But I had some things come up recently that really got me, I felt stuck, and I felt the shift in me as we were doing that when we did it in the pre-show and then again here. And it's just, I feel more peaceful about it, more calm. I'm stepping back from it. I'm not feeling so emotionally attached to it. And I think that's really just so powerful to be able to have that because it's something I've been striving for, for my whole life. So thank you for that. That was a gift.
So
Happy
good.
Father's Day to me.
Have you ever watched the video between Abraham Hicks and Wayne Dyer and how right before he died?
Yes, I saw that.
Did not have his father for a large majority of his life, and he had his own cancer issues because of his own anger of not having that fatherly figure. And Abraham had channeled and said, the father had left because as a part of a soul contract, and possibly this could be for you too, Bex, is your father said, hey, you know what? I don't want you to have any of my conditioning or downloading. And you said, great, I don't want to have that influence in my life. I want to go choose the male figures in my life to be able to shape the kind of masculine energy that I want to have for myself. Not the one that came from my biological father, but from my own choice. And so I know that when Abraham had shared that perspective with Wayne Dyer, that it was just mind-blowing for him, because he had spent decades of his life looking for his father, wanting to have a relationship with his father, and only to learn.
I remember he went to the grave and he was going to go piss on it that day because he finally found him. Yeah.
Right. And then find out, like, oh wait, he gave me the gift that I wanted, which was to not influence me in any way. That way I could shape. And then he became the Wayne Dyer that we all kind of had as our own father,
Yes.
and all the beautiful teachings that he shared with the world. So that's just think about all the conditioning that you haven't had to unravel because you didn't have that influence, and you've had the ability to choose, what type of masculine influences that you wanted. Maybe not in the beginning of your life, but, now you do. So.
That's awesome. I love that perspective shift, and it's a gift. We just take a long time to unwrap it sometimes to see what what it really is. And thank you for that. Thank you for sharing.
I want everyone to know this.
Beautiful.
Freedom. Well, thanks, ladies, for having me, and the audience for listening and participating. It's been great to be here.
Bex, you want to go with the announcements then?
Well, I want to ask the theme song question first. So,
yes.
If you had to pick a song to be the theme song of your life, what would it be?
Oh, you're asking me. Oh,
yes,
Happy.
Sorry.
I love the Pharrell Williams song, Happy, Love that.
Beautiful.
Yeah. That song can make me dance. I'll play it, just dance around my room.
I probably heard it a million times. I love that song.
Yeah, that's a fun song. Great choice. All right, so for announcements, so make sure you share out this episode so that you can win a mini reading or, a reading with Teresa, whichever she wants to offer you. She has amazing readings and sessions, angel channeling, and whatever you get, it's going to be life-changing because it always is. So powerful. We love her so much. And, okay, so whoever shared out last week the most won a mini reading with me. And so congratulations to Patrice Pierce, the new one I haven't had yet. So I'm super excited to set up that appointment with her. And thank you so much for sharing it out so much. And please keep sharing this out. We're trying to fill up as much of, the social media with positive, uplifting information and knowledge and
healing.
Absolutely. Like, this is what we're here for, to spread the awareness, to spread the love, spread the joy, and spread the healing. So join us on this mission and share it out and, invite friends. We love hanging out with you all, and it's such a gift for us. If you want to continue seeing the amazing shows on the Akashic Academy Network, there is the Cosmic Ascension Report tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern with Janelle Cameron. She's always right on top of all the energies going on, connecting with, whatever symptoms might be happening for the collective, and if you have questions, she's great at answering your questions. So make sure if you've had any strange symptoms, you're not really sure if it's Ascension or whatever. If you have anything that might be concerning, go to a doctor. But, energetically, we're all connected, so chances are we're all experiencing some level of it. But, when in doubt, go to a doctor. It's okay. There is the Beauty at the Heart with Sarah Lillian, which is tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, and then Nourishing Your Multidimensional Body with Kathy Homeyer at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and of course, Let's Tap with Suzanne Gundersen at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Amazing shows. We love all the support, and we love hanging out with you guys. Also, there is the free Akashic magazine at www.akashicacademy.com, or theakashicacademy.com, sorry. And the new one's coming out next month. So we're getting hyped for that. It's going to be a very powerful magazine. So lots of cool information and news, being able to support each other. Both Teresa and Rhonda have written amazing articles in the past. And I think, are you guys doing it this time?
Yes. I channeled some elves.
Ooh, that's going to be awesome. Super excited for that.
It is.
And there's the Akashic Academy membership, the inside group where you get the new moon and full moon ceremonies. You get the Mindful Mondays with Coach Nick and the intuitive classes every Wednesday with Emily Harrison. And right now there is a special going on. There's a limited amount of them where you can get in for a a month for a very, what, 444, I think. It's typically 44.
Yeah, the first month, yes.
So if you are interested in that, you can message any one of us. All four of us can give you that code. So if you want to find out more information, you can email anyone or, message anyone on Messenger, and we'll be glad to give you that information and hook you up. I think that's everything.
That is. Good job.
That's a lot. It's always a lot.
And happy Father's Day.
And happy Father's Day.
Yes, happy Father's Day.
Because if you don't have a father in your life, you probably were a father in a past life. So you can say happy Father's Day to yourself.
Just take the healing. Take the healing and send it on.
Take the love.
Yeah.
And have a blessed week. We love you all so much.
Namaste, our friends.